We all know how dominant the global sports market is today. American football, baseball, basketball, hockey, and soccer are giants in sports business and economics, as most major sports teams are valued in the billions. Sports franchises themselves make billions from box office, merchandise, and advertising. TV networks like NBC, CBS, ESPN, and Fox also make billions by streaming these events around the world. Everybody is pretty aware of the economic giants of sports, as the top 3 highest valued sports leagues in the world are the NFL, MLB, and the NBA. What do you think would be at number 4? The English Premier League? The NHL? La Liga? Nope. Coming at 4th is the Indian Premier League, with a brand value of $6.3 billion. What sport do they play, you might ask? The lawfully good game of cricket. Cricket? How? Relative to Americans, this game is completely foreign and essentially has its own language. But from many other countries' perspective, cricket is an exciting, tense, inclusive, and fun game to both watch and play. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic has affected the overall attendance and revenue of cricket leagues in the world. But don't let the pandemic fool you to think this sport's popularity is stagnating or dying. I can assure you, it's still growing. Today, I am an advocate for cricket, because one way or another, it is going to end up on your TV someday. It's quite an easy sport to judge. It's a long and confusing sport, but once you start learning, it actually becomes a pretty cool sport to watch. Cricket is booming. So let's learn a little about the game and how it's shaking up the business of the sports market. Cricket has an extremely long history, with its inception dating back to the 1500s in England. But how was it able to spread to become a worldwide sport? Well, the answer to that is imperialism. The British Empire at its height covered 25% of the Earth's land, taking control of countries like India, Pakistan, Australia, Canada, and several Middle East and African countries. British colonial troops and colonists in these countries would play cricket, and the people soon caught on, which is actually quite impressive due to the complexity of the sport. So, how did the colonized people catch on to this game? Let's talk a little about how the game works. There's a ton of laws, which is what they call rules, and hijinks that go into cricket, so I will only be explaining the basics. If you're familiar with baseball rules and lingo, this might be a bit easier to understand. So, like any other game, the goal is to score the most amount of runs. Each team has 11 players, and one team bats while the other team fields and defends. They play on an oval-shaped field with a 22-yard pitch at the center of the field. The batting team sends a partnership of 2 players to bat at the pitch. Each player plays at each side of the pitch. The game begins as one of the fielding players, or the bowler, bowls the ball at the wicket at the other side of the pitch. There is a wicket at each end of the pitch, and the goal of the fielding team is to hit the wicket to get the batter out. To prevent getting out and score runs, the batter can hit the ball in any direction, and when the ball is hit, the partnership can swap positions to score 1 run. If the batted ball hits the boundary of the field on the ground, the batters are awarded 4 points. If the ball goes over the boundary on the fly, that's 6 points, which is kind of like a home run in baseball. If the fielders catch the ball on the fly, or tag the wicket with the ball before swapping batters reach their position, then the batter is out, and is done hitting for the match. The batter can also be dismissed if the bowler breaks the wicket on the bowl. If the batting team reaches 10 outs, then the inning is over, and their team is done batting. It's also important to know the term over in cricket. An over is simply a set of 6 balls being bowled. Once 6 balls have been bowled, then a new bowler comes in to bowl. The over in cricket is essential to understand the different types of cricket and which ones we see today being so popular. The most traditional type of cricket is called a test match. This means there are no limit to how many overs are played. Test matches were scheduled to last 5 days. But don't worry, they throw in lunch and tea breaks during the days. The fact that a match could last so long was a concern to competitive international matches. How could a league function if one match lasted 5 days? The first answer was the creation of the one-day international match, which set a limit of 50 overs, meaning the batting and fielding team would switch by either reaching 10 outs or bowling 50 overs, which is at least 300 bowled balls. This was a bit more manageable, as these matches would last around 9 hours, which opened the availability for enough countries to participate in a Cricket World Cup, which started in 1975. This outlet was huge for these countries, as the only international matches people could get excited for was really just soccer and the Olympics. Cricket provided a new way for countries to prove their athletic dominance, as the students of cricket soon became the masters. The popularity of the Cricket World Cup has steadily increased over time, with 2019 marking a ridiculous viewership. The 2019 Cricket World Cup managed to reach a global cumulative average audience of 1.6 billion people. Now, we all know countries like India and Pakistan have a ton of people, but it is still remarkable that a seventh of the planet tuned in to watch cricket. As much fun as the international cricket matches were, there was still a problem. It was still too long, which discouraged a concurrent audience like we see with soccer and American football. How could cricket bring more excitement and interest to new consumers? Easy. Make the matches even shorter. Most matches in sports last about 2 to 3 hours, so the businessmen of cricket decided to fit cricket into that time frame. The result was a 20-over limit, which created the 2020 cricket match, or T20. The first T20 match was played in England in 2004, and soon, it quickly spread throughout the world. At this point, this is where we start to see the money trickle in. Cricket was normally able to drive in audiences in big international matches, but when it came to league games in separate countries, there just weren't enough interested people. The length was just too long for people, so the inception of the T20 was a game changer, as more and more viewers started trickling in, knowing the length of the game would be just like any other match. But the length change wasn't the only thing that drew in more people. Those same businessmen who invented the T20 did a vast amount of marketing and advertising campaigns to interest potentially new viewers. This worked especially in India. In 2008, the first edition of the Indian Premier League took place with 8 cricket teams. Soon after, cricket leagues started looking more like American sports leagues, as the IPL would draw tens of thousands in a stadium, have lavish halftime shows, cheerleaders, and soon, Indian celebrities were cheering for teams and even buying stake in ownership of the teams. The IPL became officially mainstream, as the IPL became and still is the most watched sports league in India. Now, let's think about this money-wise. We all know that India has a lot of people, 1.38 billion people to be exact, and with simple logic, we can state that when more people watch, the more money the cricket teams get. Earlier in 2021, the IPL's viewership in India reached around 380 million people, which is literally more than the entire population of the United States. Knowing this gigantic reach, media giants scrambled to start TV and streaming deals with these leagues, especially the IPL. Companies like Fox, Facebook, and Sony were competing to get that TV deal, and eventually, Fox was chosen as the champion of IPL's TV. Fox now has global broadcasting rights after it signed a 5-year contract with the IPL, which was valued at $2.5 billion. This is what makes billion-dollar sports franchises. They got the viewers, they got the ticket buyers, they got the publicity, they got the merchandise sales, and they got the giant broadcasting outlet. This kind of business and popularity shows how the IPL was able to rise on the rankings of the highest valued sports leagues in the world. Besides the IPL, other cricket leagues may soon rise up these rankings as well. T20 leagues in Australia, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and the Caribbean are gaining ground in value and popularity, which is quite prospective for the future of cricket. Now that we somewhat know the basic rules of cricket, let's take a look at what a T20 match looks like. Here is one of the international T20 matches between the West Indies and England. To make cricket easier to watch, it's important to know what the scoreboard is telling you. First, here is the overall score right now. The West Indies are batting first, and they currently have scored 79 runs. Next to the 79 is a 3, which is how many wickets or outs there have been. Remember, once a team hits 10 of those, they are done batting. On top of the run and wicket score is a 9.1. This number is how many overs have been played. Each team plays 20 overs except if they get 10 outs before that. Right now, 9 overs have been played, and the .1 means 1 ball has been bowled in this over. They track what the batters do in each over here on the right side of the scoreboard. Here in this over, 5 balls have been bowled, reading a 1, a W, another 1, a 2, and a 4. The W here means the batter hit a wicket and was dismissed. Here's what one way of that looks like.
Hey! He has his man.
Wickets aren't common like outs in baseball, so when a wicket happens, it's quite a big deal to the team and the fans. Here's another wicket, as the batter swung and missed while the wicketkeeper caught the ball and hit the wicket. If he had also swung and missed the ball and hit the stumps by itself, that is also a wicket. Now notice these two names here on the left. England is batting here now, and the current partnership right now is Vince and Billing, and Vince is batting. The bold number next to Vince's and Billing's name is how many runs they have scored individually, and the number in parentheses is how many bowled balls they have hit so far. Over on the right side is the bowler's stats, as here Hossein has given up 23 runs but has dismissed 2 players in the over. In parentheses is how many overs he has bowled. Overall, as long as you know what is going on with the overall score, wickets, and overs, it's not too hard to understand what's going on in the game. Cricket is a global sport now, as 104 nations are affiliated with the International Cricket Council, and that number is bound to increase in the future. With these money figures leagues like the IPL is pumping out, new fans, advertisers, and companies are also bound to join in on this boom. However, I don't think it will become the world's most popular or valuable sport. It's going to be very hard for cricket to break into the solid sports cultures around the world, especially in the United States, where sports fans are locked into football, basketball, and baseball, or other North and South American countries where soccer and baseball dominate. Though cricket may not overtake these popular sports, it is sure to bleed into the minds of some people within these countries. It's surely gotten me into it, as I've been watching a lot of matches and match highlights recently. To me, I think it's really just the rules barrier. Most sports don't have a barrier where it's easier for people to understand, like soccer and basketball. Looking at a cricket scoreboard for the first time can be very puzzling, which is very off-putting to sports fans trying to understand and enjoy the sport. It's important that these leagues emphasize the basics to new fans, as the basic laws of cricket are really all one needs really to enjoy watching the sport. There's also the problem of actually playing the sport. Fans love to actually play the sport they're watching, and cricket is a little hard to play in countries like the US, where there aren't that many places that can fit the dimensions of cricket. But it's not impossible, which should help some new people get into the sport. In the future, these cricket leagues should also try playing in new countries. This is what the NFL, NBA, and MLB has done, as they have introduced their own teams for select games in European countries, and have even sponsored leagues like the NBA in Africa. For cricket, a couple T20 international matches could be played in some US sports stadiums. The fact that a cricket team would be able to play in a major US stadium which surely draws some interest from Americans. Again, it may be slow to get new fans to watch and play cricket, but I think it is inevitable that more countries will catch on, and cricket just may surpass the MLB, NBA, and NFL in value.